Tesla's artificial intelligence division has unveiled a groundbreaking new supercomputer named Dojo. This project has been quietly evolving at Tesla for several years and has now emerged as a potential game-changer in the world of supercomputing. With the rise of artificial intelligence, the demand for advanced computing resources has surged, and Dojo could be Tesla's most powerful tool in this new AI arms race. Unlike traditional software, AI development requires more than just writing code. It involves creating models, gathering data, and combining these elements through a complex process known as training. This is where supercomputers come into play. They are the engines that drive this training process. Welcome to Tesla Global, the home of Tesla news. Let's get into the video. Historically, supercomputers were reserved for specialized scientific tasks, such as sequencing the human genome, forecasting weather, and studying diseases. They were niche tools with limited applications. However, this is no longer true. Today, tech companies worldwide are competing to build their own supercomputer clusters, primarily for advancing artificial intelligence. The trick to wrapping your head around how a supercomputer works is to remember that we are not actually talking about one big computer. It's actually a collection of smaller computers that can all work together as a singular machine. So instead of one big processor trying to brute force its way through a large number of calculations, we actually want a whole lot of smaller processors that are each handling a small number of calculations. Smash the like button and subscribe for more. The device of choice for this purpose is actually a graphics processing unit, or GPU, or what a lot of people would call a graphics card. These are great for playing video games and rendering digital video, but they also turned out to be very well adapted to running parallel calculations. This is how NVIDIA quickly became the hottest tech company in the world over the past year. I'm not a stock analyst by any means, but if you want a simple graph that illustrates the AI computing explosion, just look at the 5-year chart of NVIDIA stock. Even if you had bought at the height of the pandemic bubble in 2021, you would still have tripled your money already. In this case, being a little late to the party can prove to be a massive advantage for Tesla's own supercomputer design. Flashback to 5 years ago, and the only people who really cared about NVIDIA were hardcore PC gamers fiending for their next graphics upgrade. But as the AI industry began to emerge out of Silicon Valley, NVIDIA was quickly finding a vast new market of very high-profile customers. This gave us the A100 GPU in the year 2020, which quickly became the benchmark device for AI training compute. The A100 was so good that by the summer of 2021, Tesla had installed nearly 6,000 of them at the company's data center to help train the full self-driving beta AI model. At a starting price of $10,000, that would have cost Tesla somewhere near $100 million just for the GPU hardware alone. So it's no surprise that around this time, Tesla was already well into the development of a plan to design and build their own supercomputer. Unlike NVIDIA, Tesla was not already invested in any existing computer chip architecture, so they were free to design any kind of chip and computer system that they could imagine, one that was specifically optimized from the ground up for the next generation of high-performance computing. Tesla has always embraced two very important strategies in their business development. One is called vertical integration, and the other is first principles thinking, and both apply to Project Dojo. Vertical integration is essentially just bringing as much of your supply chain as possible under your own roof. So, Tesla vehicles, for example, make their own seats, their own windows. Tesla manufactures a lot of their own battery cells and battery modules. They make their own motors. This way, they're never at the mercy of a supplier. They don't pay a markup on their components, and Tesla always gets exactly what they want from each component because they built it specifically for their own purpose. First principles thinking involves tackling a unique problem with a completely novel solution, starting from the basics rather than modifying existing models. Most people solve problems through analogy. They take something similar and tweak it to meet their needs. For instance, the first Tesla Roadster was built by modifying a pre-existing sports car to create an electric version. While this served as a good tech demonstration, it wasn't a sustainable product. In contrast, the Tesla Model S was designed from the ground up to be an electric vehicle and remains in production today, illustrating the effectiveness of first principles thinking. Dojo exemplifies this approach. It's a custom hardware platform developed by Tesla's AI division specifically for training their latest video-based full self-driving networks. This involves assigning designations to clusters of pixels so the AI can recognize what it sees. The more labeled data the AI has, the better it becomes at identifying patterns and making accurate decisions. Dojo exists on its base level as something called a system on a chip, which is an entire computer assembled on one single piece of silicon. This is not exactly new. It's the same kind of system that runs your smartphone. This method allows for a spectacular level of efficiency because instead of having all these PCI ports and wires and motherboards and stuff all connected together, every time that signal moves through a connector, it gets slowed down and loses energy. Now, every necessary component lives on the same little square of semiconductor material, meaning that there are zero bottlenecks between the critical components of the computer system. Subscribe to Tesla Global. The Dojo chip is about the size of the palm of your hand, which is a lot smaller than an A100 GPU, but Dojo isn't supposed to exist as just a single chip. Dojo really becomes functional on the tile level, which is the point where multiple chips are fused together to function as one system. This is how we get that parallel computing aspect that makes this a true supercomputer. Each tile contains all of the necessary hardware for power, cooling, and data transfer. It's a self-sufficient computer in itself, made up of 25 smaller computers. So D1 was all about a system on a chip, fitting all of your components onto one silicon square the size of a palm, and then linking 25 of those squares together into a tile. But we know that any time you connect separate chips together, you create a bottleneck that slows down information. The D1 solution is good, but it's flawed. D2 is an evolution of that concept that puts the entire Dojo tile onto a single wafer of silicon. Stick with me here. This is a silicon wafer. It's a thin sheet of semiconductor material about the size of a dinner plate. This is the foundation that all computer chips are built on. The usual thing to do is to assemble as many chips on a single wafer as possible, and then cut each chip out like a cookie. In fact, aside from Tesla, there is only one other chip designer doing wafer-scale processing. That's Cerebra's. And they claim that their third-generation chip is now the fastest AI processor on Earth. So what you end up with is one big-ass chip that harnesses the power of 25 processors that can all communicate with zero bottlenecks in between to act like one super processor. That means incredibly high bandwidth, incredibly low latency, and superior power efficiency than the D1 tile or literally any other computer system in the world. The chipmaker will be scaling up their technology over the next 3 years to offer even more advanced wafer-scale systems, saying that by 2027 they will be able to provide 40 times more computing power than today's systems. So does this mean Tesla has already won the supercomputer race? Not quite. While designing and building a chip is one thing, deploying it in a large-scale supercomputer and ensuring it functions as intended is another challenge altogether. Just last summer, Tesla integrated a new training cluster with 10,000 of the latest H100 GPUs, each priced at around $30,000. Reports suggest that as of May 2024, Tesla possesses up to 35,000 H100 GPUs and plans to invest billions more in NVIDIA hardware this year. Therefore, we should view Dojo as a long-term high-risk bet. Even Elon Musk acknowledges that Dojo is not guaranteed to succeed. While it has the potential to yield hundreds of billions of dollars, it could just as easily end up being another ambitious project that fails to materialize.